Cowboy Bebop is a sequel to a show never written about a story never told. Set in the year 2071, Cowboy Bebop, directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, follows the events of our bounty hunter protagonists Spike, Jet, Faye, Ed, and Ein, as they all simply try to come to terms and cope with their own pasts in their own uniquely human way. I'm Toaster Cat, and this is more than a cartoon. Cowboy Bebop is one of my, if not my favorite anime of all time, and dare I say my favorite story of all time. It's a story that prides itself on its characters, feeling, and world to such an excellent point that it feels less like a sci-fi action show and more of just, well, a story. And I know that sounds a little redundant, but honestly, that truly is the best way I can describe it. But all of this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for how the characters' pasts affected their own worlds around them, and how their pasts strongly influenced their characters. As a matter of fact, I highly doubt that anything that goes on in this world would happen had it not been for the past events that are only hinted at throughout the episodic series. Which made me wonder, why is there no beginning to this story? And that's not even a joke. The story, despite all the praise I'm giving it, feels like it never truly starts anywhere. Most stories follow what is known as the hero's journey. Without going into too many specifics, it states that within the beginning of a story, there must be a call to action, a reason for our characters, our heroes, to do something in this world. This could be pinned on just about any movie you think of. Hunger Games, any Marvel movie, even non-action movies such as Toy Story, Frozen, and even literature and TV shows. Literally anything that comes to mind. But this story really doesn't have anything. Hell, the first episode could be summed up as vague silent backstory that tells us little to nothing, Spike practicing some martial arts, he sees a new bounty, he fails to catch said bounty, and then he goes back to practicing some martial arts. That's it. Not to say that this is a terrible thing, I mean, honestly, breaking this seemingly necessary cliche is a feat all on its own, but I was still confused on why they would choose to start their series like this. Then I realized something, that this show isn't really about our past, it's how we deal with it.
Remember, I'll always be cheering you on. And now a big cheer from my heart. Let's go me! All right! Do your best, don't lose me! Let's go, don't lose me! Do your best,
I can't remember.
Don't you lose, me! Go me! Yay! In your time, I'm no longer here, but I am here today, and I'll always be cheering for you, right here. Cheering for you, my only self.
Our past makes us who we are. We try new things, we fail, we learn, and we grow as people. This is a simple fact of life, and how we handle our past is arguably what makes us human. But despite our past being so important, many of us try to ignore it and forget. Cowboy Bebop capitalizes on this notion. Spike, Jet, Faye, and Ed all have their own backstories, and we only see glimpses of each of them. And each feels, in its own right, completely unfinished, simply dying to be wrapped up into a nice bow. But it hasn't. For example, not to spoil too much, near the end of the series, Spike is willing to abandon anything and everything just so he can confront his past, even if it means forfeiting his own life. And he knows that he very well may end up dead. And the characters know, we the audience know, and even though we know what he's about to do and how completely reckless and stupid and how it has such a astronomically low chance of success, but we all understand what he's going through. We all understand why he's going to do what he's about to do. We all know that if we were in his position, we most likely would do it as well. And this stems from the fact that we all know what it's like, this undeniable pit in our stomach known as regret. our unfinished pasts. And we all know that sometimes we would be willing to give the world if it just meant stopping this feeling, even for a little bit. Oftentimes we say, just let it go and move on. We try to ignore our painful pasts in hopes of moving forward without them. And the characters in Cowboy Bebop are trying to do just that. But time and time again, they show that no matter how hard we try, we cannot forget our past. They keep finding themselves going in circles, constantly trying to move away from their past only to find themselves closer to it, again and again, over and over. But the real reason that they can never truly break this endless cycle of pain and regret is because they are truly scared of their pasts and what it would do to them, as they've seen what it can do to other people.
It was all a kid's dream. I guess all he could do was dream, so the dreams turned dark.
As the norm with an episodic series, a new villain is introduced every episode that only occasionally affects the overarching plot, with the exception of the gag episodes. And as such, new characters are shown and developed every episode, and every character that is shown, every corrupted villain, every unfortunate bystander, is in their situation because they let something in their past get to them. Unlike our protagonists, they never ran from their pasts. They confronted it, or it had confronted them. And this creates an interesting parallel between our protagonists and those around them. It shows that while yes, sometimes the past hurts us, and sometimes we don't like the answers that our past gives to us, and sometimes the past just isn't fair. What happened to us, it's not right. But sometimes we feel complete. We feel complete in just knowing our story's closed. We feel joy in just, well, knowing. And throughout the episodic adventure, our heroes begin to realize that, even if their pasts end up hurting them, even if they don't like the answers it provides, just knowing, just understanding, just confronting our past makes us who we are. And no matter what
are you going to do?
one way or another,
Just throw your life away like it was nothing?
we're gonna carry that weight.
I'm not going there to die. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive. I have to do it, Faye.